Hello guys and girls, welcome to another lesson with Learn IT with Mr. C. Today we're going to be looking at if statements in Python. So the first thing we need to do is open up our Python shell. To do that we do a search for Python in our Windows search bar, and we're looking for Python with the IDLE. So idle Python is what we're looking for, and we click on that and we should get this shell window open. Once we've done that, we're going to make a new file by going File, New. I'm going to make it full screen, and this is going to be where we're going to create our little if statement. So if we're looking on today's lesson with Learn IT with Mr. C, we can see that we're learning how to write a simple if statement. So the first thing we need to understand about our if statement is that it has a certain format. Now that format looks like this. So we start with our if, which is lowercase, then we have a condition. Now obviously we're not going to use the word condition, but that's where the condition goes. We finish the if statement by a semicolon, and then we print something out. Now this will print out if the condition is true. So I'm going to print out the word true. Right? So what condition can we put in there that's true? Well, if I say 5 is equal to, notice when I'm checking if something's equal to, you use a double equals 5. Well, is 5 equal to 5? It certainly is. So this should then print out true. Well, let's just test that out. So we'll go to run. And obviously we always have to save our program first. So I'm going to save that as if underscore else. So because we're going to add an else to this later on, and click save. Right, and you can see that in our shell we get true come out. Okay, so we get true up here because 5 clearly does equal 5. Now what we're going to do is we want to change this up. So we're going to have a variable called a. We're going to give that a value. So we're going to say a equals 6. And now instead of saying if 5 equals 5, we're going to check if a is equal to 5. Now a isn't equal to 5, so nothing will print out. So let's make this statement true. If a is greater than 5. So if a is greater than 5, print true. So when we run this, it'll ask us to save again. Okay. And we should get true come out again because a is greater than 5. There we go. We've got true come out again. Now, what about if we want to print out false? We can't do that with one statement. So this is where we introduce an else. So on the same level as our if, we add an else. Now there's no condition for else. Else just means if the first condition isn't true, then do this. So if a is not greater than 5, then print out this statement. So we're going to say we're going to print out false. So let's make our condition false. So if a is less than 5, well it's not because a is 6, then we should now get false printed out. So this is what happens if it's true. This is what happens if it's false. If I run my code again, click OK, here you can see false is printed out. So we've now got a condition where we have two possible options. A is less than 5. If that's true, we print this out. If it's false, we print that out. So let's introduce another operator. What about if we want to check if A is greater or equal to 5? Right, so if a is greater or equal to 5 and we make a 5, what do we think will print out here? Let's run it and see. Let's see if you were correct in what you were thinking. It prints out true. So it prints out true because a is equal to 5. So greater or equal to is true. So this is our condition for something being true or false. So let's now add a user input. So instead of us setting the value of A, let's ask the user to input the value of A. So if we say A equals, now we want the user's input to be an integer, so we're going to say A equals int input. Please enter a number. Please enter a number. And we need double brackets because we've got two brackets, one for int and one for input. So A equals please enter a number. Now if A equals 5, what should we print at greater or equal to 5? So we should say your number is greater than 5. So let's get rid of the equals. So that's correct. Else, well, if your number's not greater than 5, your number is less than 5. Right, I'm sure you can see a problem with this, but we'll deal with this in a second. So let's run our new program with our user input. So please enter number 7. Your number is greater than 5. Well, that's correct. So let's try it again. Enter a number, and let's just leave a space so it looks a bit better when we enter the number. So we're going to run it again. So we've checked if greater than 5 works. So let's enter 3. Your number is less than 5. That's correct. Now, what happens if we run this and enter the number 5? Your number is less than 5. Well, that's not true, is it? That's not true. So what can we do when we've got more than 2 conditions? What can we do? Well, we have another option for our if statement. Before I do my else, I can add another if. But what I do, it's a combination of an if and an else. So it's called an Elif. So it's like saying if A is greater than 5, not true, else if, and then we put another condition. So A equals 5. So if Elif A equals 5, colon, now I'm going to print, well, they must have entered 5. You must have entered 5. Right, so now we have all conditions matched. We have 3 different conditions in our if statement, and if we wanted to, we could add in as many elifs as we wanted before or else. So there's no limit to the number of elifs we can put in here, which is a really useful tool. So let's run this, just make sure that it works. So we know that the bigger than the less than. Well, let's enter the number 5 now and see what happens. You must have entered 5. Okay, so there we have an example of an if, elif, else statement. And this is selection in Python, and with this you can do lots of powerful things. So maybe you could think about creating a quiz where you ask the user a question and you had a number of possible answers and then printed out whether the answer was correct or not. Okay, thank you for listening. That's the end of today's lesson.